want to share something a little different. Not a story that is entirely positive, but one that is grounded in hope. It is a story about learning who I am, standing firm in my identity, and finding belongings in places that at first did not seem made for me. My name is Charlie, and I am a proud Aboriginal woman. I stand here today to speak about the need for stronger transitional support for First Nations students entering new education systems. My mob is from Minjerribah, North Stradbroke Island, and I come from the Nungi and Nunakul tribes. Although I am Aboriginal, I was raised in the Torres Strait, and that has played a significant role in shaping who I am. For 4 years, I lived on Moa Island in Kuban Village before moving to Thursday Island so that my little brother and I could attend school while my parents continued their work. While I remain deeply connected to my mob from Minjerribah, growing up in the Torres Strait has taught me so much. I learnt their languages, their cultures, and their stories. Those experiences grounded me in values of respect, belonging, and community. And today, no matter where I go, I carry my home and my country with me. But like many young First Nations people, my story has been shaped between moving between cultures and places, between islands, education systems, and cities. From a young age, I understood what it felt like to live between two worlds, and how easily identity can be questioned or misunderstood when you do not fit neatly into one box. I always thought I would attend my local high school and stay close to home with family and friends, but my parents saw something bigger for me. They encouraged me to apply for boarding school scholarships down south. I never thought I would get in, but to my surprise, I was fortunate enough to receive a Yallery scholarship. I still remember arriving for the first time. I was absolutely petrified, like many of us are when we start something new. Oh my goodness. They encouraged me to apply for, The first thing I noticed was how out of place I felt. People asked me where I was from and why I spoke the way I did. Some said I had an accent. Others made comments about how I looked. At just 12 years old, I heard things like, "You don't look Aboriginal," "You're too white," or "What percentage are you?" At times, I felt like I did not belong there. At that age, you just want to fit in, but those words cut deep, because my connection to culture, to mob, and to my country had never been about how I looked. It is about who I am. But when you are 12 and the world around you is not yet ready to listen or learn, it can make you doubt yourself. When I first arrived, there were only a handful of us First Nations girls. We quickly realized that our culture was not visible. There was very little support for us. Our culture was not recognized or celebrated. There were no Aboriginal Torres Strait Islander flags, no NAIDOC Week, no Reconciliation Week, not even acknowledgement of country at assemblies. So my best friend and I, just two Year 7 girls, decided to do something about it. We approached the school administration and asked for change. We asked for acknowledgement of country at every assembly, welcome to country at important events, and opportunities to celebrate and share our cultures. We were fortunate enough to have teachers who listened, teachers who recognized the gaps, not only in understanding but in belonging. And that has helped us to work towards change. They encouraged us to speak up, to lead, and to create space for others to feel proud of where they came from. It was not always perfect, and we did not always feel welcomed. But things improved because people were willing to walk alongside us. But that is not the reality for many other schools. Over time, more First Nations students joined our efforts. Together we built something stronger, a school community that celebrated all cultures. By the time I graduated, we had Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander dance groups, cultural events each term, leadership opportunities, and gatherings where our families could proudly represent our culture with us. Academically, however, the transition was still confronting. Many of us arrived realizing we were behind and catching up required significant effort. It meant hours of study after school, tutoring sessions, and constant determination. It was mentally and emotionally exhausting. There were nights where I wished I could be back home, back by the ocean, surrounded by my family, but I was terrified of disappointing them by failing. Many of our scholarship students carried that same pressure, the need to prove that we belonged in those classrooms and that we were worthy of the opportunities we had been given. But over time, education gave me something powerful. It gave me confidence, the courage to leave home and pursue something bigger than I've ever imagined. It showed me that knowledge can be both grounding and liberating. Most importantly, it taught me that I did not have to change who I was to succeed. I simply had to believe that who I was enough. Those years taught me resilience, but they also gave me empathy. Empathy for every young person trying to find their place in spaces that were not built with them in mind. That is the kind of education I want to help create, the kind that I stand here speaking about today. An education grounded in respect, safety, and cultural pride, one where support exists for First Nations students so that no young person feels alone in navigating unfamiliar systems. One where every student knows that who they are will always be enough. Whenever I doubted myself, I thought about my parents and the sacrifices they made. I thought about my little brother and the example I wanted to set for him. And I thought about my elders, those who fought so that young people like me could have opportunities our ancestors were once denied. Those thoughts gave me strength when I wanted to give up. I believe an important step forward is creating transitional programs specifically for First Nations students entering boarding schools or beginning university. These programs could connect younger students from home communities with First Nations students who have already navigated these systems and endure the challenges that come with leaving home. Through mentorship, they can share honest experiences, practical advice, and guidance about what it takes to adjust and succeed. Learning from those who have already walked that path can make the transition far less isolating, while showing young people that they can pursue opportunities without leaving their identity behind. By sharing my story, I hope to highlight why we must build education systems where identity and culture are respected, protected, and celebrated. We cannot continue asking our young people to hide parts of themselves in order to succeed. When education is grounded in cultural understanding, it becomes more than learning. It becomes healing, it becomes empowerment, and it creates a pathway for the next generation so they can walk proudly in both worlds, knowing that they belong in every single one of them. Thank you.